Good morning, everyone. We are starting the webinar titled, Do I Have a Skeleton in the Closet? My name is Bartek Mikiłowski, and today I am very excited to show you our innovative solution, DoRIS, which has been specifically designed for efficiently managing and working with all types of documents within your company's infrastructure. First, a few words about the company. At DataServe, our motto is, we change data into knowledge. We have been actively operating within the industry market for a period of nearly 20 successful years, and we extensively deal with data in the broadest and most comprehensive sense possible. Today, I would like to provide you with a comprehensive and insightful introduction as to why we firmly believe that the work we do here is so fundamentally important, and moving forward from there, we will also present a detailed and interactive practical demonstration of the DoRIS solution to show you exactly how it works. Why do we believe that what we are talking about is important? There are actually several reasons for this. The first is that in all organizations, we observe a tremendous increase in the number of various documents. It is estimated that in major global organizations, more than 10,000 individual documents are created each month. At the same time, we are seeing a steady annual increase in data volume of 20 to 30% per year. We are spending more and more time actively searching for and verifying information. This directly affects overall workplace productivity and efficiency, especially when dealing with complex documents. And what exactly does this situation lead to? On the one hand, it essentially means that we make decisions based on completely outdated and obsolete information. We don't have full visibility into what is happening. We may leave ourselves vulnerable to risks related to complex legal and regulatory requirements, or even the loss of certain certifications. Financial penalties are a major risk because failing to comply with certain regulations usually results in serious consequences. And these can include penalties or direct financial losses if we make decisions based on incorrect data. Significant delays in taking decisive action, which inherently involves certain inherent risks. Furthermore, we may also experience significant difficulty identifying and assessing the specific threats we are facing. And in many organizations, unfortunately, we often operate in certain silos. To put it colloquially, the left side doesn't know what the right side is doing. In other words, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Additionally, over the last 2 years, the inherent risk associated with working alongside these large language models has also significantly intensified. In fact, a new category of risk has surfaced in this specific area. Most importantly of all, the significant risk is that our collective knowledge and our specialized technical know-how will end up feeding some external language models. In other words, what truly makes us unique and what we specialize in could be handed over directly to someone else, often without us even being fully aware that it is happening. When the process of interacting with large language models provided by third-party service providers, we effectively relinquish all direct control and oversight over the ultimate fate and handling of the sensitive data we send to such large language models. Sending data to large language models can also involve violating certain internal regulations of ours. Now, in order to address these potential risks, we have developed a specific platform, a dedicated platform designed for the management, operation, and utilization of advanced technologies used for analyzing and processing complex documents, and more broadly speaking, natural language in general. In the English language, the acronym NLP stands for Natural Language Processing. An entire comprehensive suite of solutions is emerging, known as Intelligent Document Processing. And DoRIS, or more precisely the NLP platform we have created, serves as a prime and perfect example of such a solution, such a product, with DoRIS being a specific implementation that actually addresses 3 distinct and absolutely fundamental core functionalities, which is essentially the primary purpose for which it was originally designed and created. So the very first thing you should know is that DoRIS is used for document analysis, which means that in a very simple and very fast way, we can implement a functionality in our company that will read all the information contained in our files, completely regardless of what their specific format might be, Word, PDF, Excel, or PowerPoint. It really doesn't matter at all because we support all these formats. From each of these documents, we extract information starting with metadata about the document itself, the file itself, such as the creation date, author size, and many other relevant details as well. From each and every such document, we also meticulously extract all the relevant data and information contained within it so that we can later use this data, efficiently search through the entire database of information, and classify or virtually tag these documents, no matter what their original file format or structure might be, in accordance with our specific organizational needs and requirements. And finally, we do this so that we can also search through all of them semantically to find deeper meaning. The second thing is that our solution is used to build so-called highly sophisticated and intelligent knowledge bases. So if we have our very own specific resources regarding our own regulations, our own rules, our own studies, instructions, or various internal processes within the company, and we want to distribute and share them with other relevant parties in a secure and controlled way, whether within the company or externally, then we have a comprehensive, ready-made digital platform that fully enables this functionality. And the third key feature and functionality is a specialized software overlay for modern design offices that use Microsoft's infrastructure, most specifically the platform Microsoft Teams within their environment. They have a large volume of documents, and users familiar with this tool know that within Microsoft Teams, we can create these specific types of working teams, which is where the tool gets its name. Each such team maintains its own unique folder structure and its own document organization. However, by utilizing our specialized tool, we provide a kind of useful overlay that, for example, allows us to easily find and categorize the same types of documents. And above all, this serves to better monitor what is happening across the entire organization. So, for example, what you are currently seeing on your screen right now is a screenshot of our Microsoft Teams application at our company. And here, as you can see on the left-hand navigation panel, we have a wide variety of different projects that we are working on, and each of these projects has its own carefully organized internal structure. And now you can observe that this specific organizational structure is also clearly reflected within the interface of the DoRIS tool itself. If you look closely at the navigation panel, you can also see that the new Epstein file folder has successfully appeared in the list, and we will be making extensive use of it throughout the course of this practical demonstration today. Right at this very moment, I have complete and direct access to 16,660 different project documents, which we are now free to browse through and explore in any particular way that we might like. And this is, as I previously mentioned, a kind of overlay, which it also provides you with the additional capability to track the progress of work. For example, if I use this comprehensive filtering tool in the document and say, find all documents that have been modified by Alexandra Jakubik in the last 30 days. And I want to see all documents changed by Alexandra Jakubik in the last 30 days, and I want them to be in English. If I apply such a filter, the system will show me that there are 4 such documents. Right here on the screen, you can see the specific names of these files. I have instant and very convenient quick access directly to each of them. There is also, so to speak, a summary of information about what these documents are about. So it's a remarkably simple and incredibly fast mechanism for detailed investigation and collaborative teamwork across the board, so to speak. At this point, DoRIS is being used as a kind of overlay for MS Teams. Now let's move on to the solution itself. For the solution, we can log in through any standard web browser of your choice. Once we have successfully logged in, we see a comprehensive screen with all of these documents, showing the entire hierarchical structure of our network where these specific documents are stored. And what is visible here is, of course, strictly defined and carefully managed by the system administrator. In our case, we have access to project documents. However, what I want to emphasize is that the specific information that appears here is entirely dependent upon the decision of the Knowledge Office Director or the Knowledge Office Manager who is responsible for managing and maintaining this solution. If I specifically apply a detailed search to find all the documents containing the phrase DoRIS and in quotation marks, change data into knowledge, I find exactly 5 such documents. Here, I can enter any specific phrase or keyword, also using certain special characters and symbols, which further expand the range of search possibilities. And then I get information just like, let's say, very similar to how you would in a web browser. At the same time, I can ask direct questions to my personal knowledge base. This can be done in the following way shown here. I can query the entire database, all the documents I have, meaning those 16,000, but I can also ask at the level of a specific team or a specific directory. We have a directory for this kind of intelligent knowledge base, data serve powered by on-prem DoRIS, and here are all the internal documents. For instance, I am able to ask a question only about internal documents, such as specifically asking what is the main difference between DoRIS and Microsoft's Copilot. Currently, we have a detailed document within our structure that describes these differences in full. To sum up, I can browse all the documents in the company, and I can also ask questions in natural language about my documents. Additionally, I can also select the specific directories that I want to ask my questions about. The system is helpful because it always provides the specific source and context where the data originates, which means I can easily verify the exact information on which the answer was generated to ensure its accuracy and reliability. At the same time, I can very quickly access such a document. So if I search for a document, for instance, in this case, I searched for Saudi Arabia and saw that such things existed, then we have 4 documents on this topic in our database. Of course, I can immediately hover over such a document. Now, if you look on the right side, you can see that I have detailed information here, which is a helpful summary of what this document is all about. The keywords are successfully identified. Proper names that appear in this document are included in the list. So, for example, if I clicked on a specific proper name, it would also display for me other documents in which that proper name also appears. And of course, if I click on that icon with the image, I have very quick access. I can immediately display the document, download it, or view it. This is also important because it provides an immediate and clear indication of the specific page, which in this case is page 6, where in this document the terms Vision 2030 and Saudi Arabia appear together for the very first time. I can also easily upload my own documents into the system. A virtual catalog with my documents is then created, and in this way I can also expand, for example, my knowledge base with documents that are important to me and that I also want to have quick access to in the future, and which are not, so to speak, in the organization's resources. This mechanism is very simple. I just drag the file and it is then immediately read by our tool. This specific software tool, in order to function properly, quite naturally and obviously requires infrastructure. However, what is crucial to understand is that we can implement this solution starting from relatively small infrastructure. That is, we can have it installed entirely in the cloud, or we can also have it installed on our own private internal company servers. You could essentially say that it consists of 2 distinct and essential primary components. So, to begin with, first you need a dedicated server on which same DoRIS operates, and that is more than sufficient for your needs if we want to have the full functionality of advanced search and semantic search. This is also true if we want to have specific keywords identified, if we want to create various virtual catalogs, or even virtually tagged documents. It is important to note that all of this is provided by the solution installed on a single server. However, if we want to be able to ask complex questions in natural language and receive accurate answers in natural language, whether in English or Polish, and if we want to have document summaries, a short abstract created based on the first pages of a given document, then we definitely need a sophisticated and powerful large language model. If we want to have all of our systems and data on-premise, it must be fully installed and configured on local hardware. And these can be specific language models chosen by the client. We strongly suggest and highly recommend either the Llama model or the Polish Bielik model for your needs. If we decide to host our infrastructure in the cloud, then the entire DoRIS solution is installed in that cloud environment. We then use the services of a major provider that offers an LLM service, which is secure because we only send small fragments of our documents to such a large-scale LLM service, keeping our sensitive data protected at all times. When we query the database or pose a specific question to our knowledge base, then DoRIS, the specialized component installed locally, searches for relevant fragments that, according to the DoRIS solution, effectively answer our question. These fragments are then sent directly to the large language model. The large language model uses these fragments to create a concise and helpful answer, which we can then readily use. Generally speaking, since we are operating in the cloud environment, the overall scalability is significantly greater. We don't have to start right away with a 48-core, 384 gigabyte server. We can start with smaller ones. And that covers the essential overview of everything. I would also like to provide a few brief introductory words about the specific solution that we are discussing today. Now we would move on to the demo part. We will now proceed to the demo section. I'm going to the website of the United States Department of Justice. Here we have collected all the documents related to the Epstein affair that have been disclosed. At the beginning, to access them, I have to confirm that I am over 18 years old. The process is exceptionally simple. And now I have full and complete access to every one of these various files. If I go ahead and manually type the word end into this search engine box right here and see what happens. For example, I see that there are a total of 931,888 individual documents currently available within this database. Now, if I were to go ahead and type in the name Andrew, or even Prince Andrew, the search results would likely return a significantly smaller number of documents for me to review. There are 2,561 individual items. Now, by doing it this way, I can efficiently browse through and carefully analyze all of these documents. As you can easily imagine, such a manual and repetitive process would be extremely tedious and time-consuming. In order to streamline things for the specific purposes of this demo, we have launched a specialized automated script. All of these data files have been securely downloaded and stored directly onto our internal local servers. Of course, not all of them, just a portion. Our team carefully selected and gathered all documents containing the phrases Prince Andrew, Poland, Polen, Polska, and Warsaw. We also included a variety of specific Polish surnames in the search as well. All of these documents were then successfully downloaded and stored onto our local server by running a specialized script on this site. We have specifically outlined within the comprehensive DoRIS solution configuration settings that the system is instructed to read through every single one of these various data files. Consequently, when I take a moment to click on our interactive map or navigate through the specific directory that is currently available on our local server, you can clearly observe that we have a wide variety of documents successfully downloaded from that website, where you can see that the following specific phrases and key terms appeared throughout the documents. When I go to the top of this directory, I see that we have 3,859 such documents. That's how many documents we downloaded for the purposes of this demo. Well, perhaps first, since it is possible that not everyone here may already know, let's go ahead and ask the chat a quick question. Here we also have the complete history of your previous chat conversations displayed at the same time. I'll go ahead and close that out, because that's not something we're interested in here. And right here, I can type out a question. Who exactly is Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and why has he become such a controversial figure in recent years? We really need to finally get a clear and comprehensive answer to these questions that the public is asking. Yes, it appeared. So here we have a clear answer to who Prince Andrew is. And here are the most important key points about him, carefully listed for you. However, what's important is that this information comes exclusively from our documents. Here I have the sources listed right here. So if I click on it, I can see the very first document is about Prince Andrew. Here is some of his information. The data from this document was used to generate this answer. Just like if I go ahead and click on the very last document here. Well, right here too, as you can clearly see, let me zoom in just a little bit more for you. Also, we can find detailed information specifically regarding Prince Andrew's personal data. So now that we all have a better understanding of who Prince Andrew was, let's move on to a more comprehensive and meticulous analysis of our files and our documents. For the purpose of this exercise, let us assume that we are specifically interested in the significant issues related to the events at Davos. We want to check whether in our documents, those 3,859, there is any information about Davos. I see that there are 37 distinct documents in this collection. For the sake of this demonstration, let's go ahead and assume that this specific issue is the one we are most interested in exploring today. I am going to click on one of the very first documents listed here in the results. Upon opening it, I can see that right here I have a formal response sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Boris Nikolic regarding a personal invitation to attend the 7th lunch event, which was organized by a philanthropic foundation belonging to Viktor Pinchuk. Of course, I can click directly on this specific document, and I see that it is a formal piece of electronic correspondence, showing that there was some detailed communication with Mr. Boris Nikolic. I can also take a look to check what specific keywords were identified within this document and see exactly what particular proper names appear throughout the text to get a better understanding of the file. I see that this Boris Nikolic appears here. I've carefully reviewed this document and I consider it quite fascinating. I also noticed that this document has already been tagged for Bill. Let us go ahead and assume that I go in right now. I'm going to remove this tag because we are not going to need it for Bill anymore. I'll go ahead and tag it myself. Now, I'm going to open the second document, and here at the same time, I can see quite clearly as I open this second document that this specific file actually has a duplicate. We have two separate documents with the exact same name, but I can see that since they're arranged in alphabetical order here, these two documents are sitting right next to each other in the list. And the document at the bottom is being handled by a colleague who prepared the script to download all the files. And this document was uploaded to our server by me earlier. I also tried downloading not through scripts, but by going to the website and downloading a document that interested me from the website of the United States Department of Justice, and I see that I have it duplicated. I could certainly delete it if I wanted to, but I think I won't delete it right now for the time being. Instead, we will just continue searching through all of our various documents here. I actually have another document ready to go, so let's go ahead and open this specific document up. I'll enlarge it a bit again so it's easier to see. It appears that we have here yet another email from Boris Nikolic to Jeffrey Epstein. Given that I am quite interested in this document as well, I think I will go ahead and virtually tag it as well. I am going to add a tag for Bartek. As you can clearly see, the system is already automatically suggesting some other tags. Now that we have successfully added it to the list, what you see here with these other tags being displayed on the screen is actually the direct result of someone else having tagged another document in a very similar way. And that is exactly the primary reason why we have these suggestions. Now, if we take a moment to look back at this specific part of our demo, I've selected two documents, and I can clearly see that Boris Nikolic appears in a total of 37 different documents. I'm now going to navigate all the way back to the chat functionality. And let's ask a question at this point. I am going to go ahead and close out this conversation history that is currently being displayed on the screen. This is a specific feature and capability that it offers. However, right here, we will now pose a specific question to the system. Can you tell me exactly who Boris Nikolic is? We have to wait a moment. The system has given us a new response regarding the identity of Boris Nikolic. This is some other company, but let's assume we're interested in it. At this point, we want to find out exactly how many documents we have related to this specific BIOSys project. Again, I can go back to my tool. Let's see, we had 37 documents about Davos, so what do we have about this BIOSys? I see only one document. Let's see what kind of document this is. I'm opening this document. I can clearly see that there really is an entire section dedicated to the central main character of the story right here. However, I was also quite curious and wanted to see in more detail exactly what kind of official document this is. BIOSys Capital Partners. I see that this document has 74 pages. I can go back to the chat functionality. Then we might stop for a moment and pose the following very important question. What does BIOSys actually do? My question was too general and DoRIS failed to provide a response to our initial inquiry. We are going to head back into the interface of chat and ask a more specific and precise question this time. We'll ask our questions in a new chat. What does Boss's company do? The previous question I asked was far too general and lacked specific details, but as soon as we clarified the situation by specifying that we were referring to the Boss's company, the system provided a helpful response. I believe I could easily go back and re-examine that particular document to find the information we need. For the sake of this demonstration, let's assume that I want to keep working, do this document. I will also add a tag saying for Bartek. You can see right here that the system is already responding to me in real time. Now, let's further assume that I have completely finished my part of the work and an entirely different team comes in to log into our system to take over. I will then reach out and tell this new team, listen, everyone, I have already gone ahead and done some of the preliminary research for you to get started. Go into the system and specifically search for the documents that are labeled with a tag for Bartek. Right at this particular stage, the system should clearly display for us the 3 documents that I specifically marked out earlier. I should now be able to successfully access and view these documents. Let's assume this is one of them. I showed it to you a bit earlier. It was that email. Let's say the controller who was working on this decided that it was okay. This document, however, does not bring anything new at all. The specific virtual identification tag that I have marked right here can be safely removed. This particular document is not relevant to our needs. And if you take a look at this specific point right now, you can already see that the tag has been completely removed from this section here. However, if I now go back into the search and look for documents about Bartek, there should now be only 2 documents that I marked. As I previously mentioned, this tool has 3 distinct main functionalities. The first is that it allows you to comprehensively analyze and extract various types of information directly from the document itself. For example, if I open this specific document, here I have the summaries, keywords, and all identified names. There is also additional information indicating that this particular document has a duplicate. You can also verify whether there is any other extracted information contained within this document. If I have the necessary permissions and the right to access, I can open it directly at the source and, for example, make some changes so that the system recognizes there is a brand new version. The old version will be tagged as an archived version, while the new one will be marked as current. I can also check whether there were any tables in this document. I can perform a thorough check to determine whether any specific pieces of information or relevant data have been successfully identified, captured, or extracted to ensure everything is accounted for. Up until this moment, the only data available was the information regarding the address. However, I can now browse through and examine a variety of other documents that are similar to this one. I can also quickly check who has access rights to this particular document. These are the dedicated individuals in our company with whom I also collaborate closely. What is critically important to remember is that this tool does not provide or have its own internal security policy. It functions to simply reflect the existing security settings that we have in our organization. That's all I wanted to show today. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope that we will meet soon and you will have the opportunity to work with DoRIS and NLP platform from DataServe. Thank you very much for your time today, and I wish you a very good day. Goodbye.